Hello, and welcome to another Minute with Matt. I'm Matt with New Life Church, and we're going to continue our study of the book of Matthew. This time we're beginning with Matthew 4:12. This is about when Jesus began his Galilean ministry. It says, "Now when Jesus heard that John had been put in prison, he departed to Galilee. And leaving Nazareth, he came and dwelt in Capernaum, which is by the sea, in the regions of Zebulun and Naphtali, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by Isaiah the prophet, saying, The land of Zebulun and the land of Naphtali, by the way of the sea beyond the Jordan, Galilee of the Gentiles. The people who sat in darkness have seen a great light, and upon those who sat in the region and shadow of death, light has dawned." So the way this begins is John the Baptist, who had baptized Jesus, who was his cousin, was put in prison. The book of Luke, I believe, talks more about the conditions of it, but the point is that Herod had arrested him for speaking against some of the things he did, specifically marrying his brother's wife. But after Jesus heard that John was in prison, he departed to Galilee. And leaving Nazareth, he came and dwelt in Capernaum, which is by the sea. And then it mentions a prophecy that was fulfilled. In the book of Matthew especially, you'll see lots of prophecies pointed out. If you wanted to look up what it says in the prophecy, it was in Isaiah chapter 9, verses 1 and 2. But it's interesting how it says, "The people who sat in darkness have seen a great light. And upon those who sat in the region and shadow of death, light has dawned." You see, Jesus isn't just the light of the good people, the good places, the good areas. He wants to be the light for all. He's the light of the world. The darker it is, the greater a light shines. And when light shines in the darkness cannot overcome it. I'm sure you've seen the difference. If you're in a dark place and you suddenly turn on a flashlight, you turn on a good flashlight, and all of a sudden the place is lit up. Well, that's what Jesus is. That's what he was to these people. It's like you pick the roughest neighborhood, the worst place to live. That's where Jesus ministered, and that's where he was the light. Verse 17 goes on what this light was telling us. "From that time Jesus began to preach and say, Repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand." So, what does repent mean? Some people believe it just is saying, "I'm sorry." That might be part of it, but it's not the main thing. To repent is to turn around. You can't slap somebody and say, "I'm sorry," then slap them again and say, "I'm sorry," slap them again and say, "I'm sorry," slap them again. That's not repenting of it. Repent is to turn around, to stop doing that. So if you see that you are living in a way that does not please God, you're doing something he said not to do, you are not doing something he said to do, you repent, you turn around, you start doing what you're supposed to do, you stop doing what you're not supposed to do. That's what repenting is, and that's what Jesus was preaching, to repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Moving on to verse 18, this is a very special passage. "And Jesus, walking by the Sea of Galilee, saw two brothers, Simon called Peter and Andrew his brother, casting a net into the sea, for they were fishermen." Some of you may have actually heard of this guy Simon Peter. He's kind of famous as the leader of the apostles. But right now he's just a fisherman. He's just in his boat. He's just in his boat, casting a net into the sea, trying to catch some fish. Verse 19, though, then he, and that's Jesus, said to them, "Follow me, and I will make you fishers of men." They immediately left their nets and followed him. So what does it mean to be a fisher of men? It simply means that instead of trying to catch fish so that they can be turned into dinner, you're catching men, but not for that, you're winning souls. You're catching men and getting them to, showing them the truth of Jesus Christ, so they'll repent, so they will become disciples as well, so they'll become Christians, so they'll be saved. And they immediately left their nets and followed him. That's how we should react when Jesus is calling us to do anything, to immediately do what he wants us to do. Verse 21, going on from there, he saw two brothers, James the son of Zebedee, and John his brother, in the boat with Zebedee their father, mending their nets. He called them, and immediately they left the boat and their father and followed him. So they did the same thing. This John went on to be John the Revelator. So again, they're fishermen as well. Jesus calls them, and they immediately leave. Left their family behind, left everything they knew behind to follow Jesus. So the question is, are you willing, am I willing, to leave everything behind to follow Jesus? And I pray that the answer is yes, because it'll be worth it all. Whatever we have to sacrifice. Maybe we don't have to leave our family. Maybe God has called us to the area where we are. Or maybe our family will be offended because we have followed Jesus instead of whatever the family tradition was. But we need to be willing to give up our all to follow Jesus. Continuing to verse 23, Jesus went about all Galilee, teaching in their synagogues, preaching the gospel of the kingdom, and healing all kinds of sickness among the people. Sickness and all kinds of disease among the people. Then his fame went throughout all Syria, and they brought to him all sick people who were afflicted with various diseases and torments, and those who were demon-possessed, epileptics, paralytics, and he healed them. Great multitudes followed him from Galilee and from Decapolis, Jerusalem, Judea, and beyond the Jordan. Well, certainly they did follow him because he was healing. So, not only did he preach, but he healed. A lot of people remember he healed, he also preached. And what did he preach? Repent. And question to you, whoever you are watching, have you repented? Have you asked Jesus into your heart? If you haven't, today's the day to do it. Until next time, God bless.